You know, maybe it was you who said we can't pick and choose our messengers, but we should endorse the message. And the message here is bringing people to faith who typically wouldn't be drawn to it.
Hey everybody, come on, let's welcome Mr. Kanye West today.
I know that God's been calling me for a long time, and the devil's been distracting me for a long time.
West arrived at the Houston church with wife Kim Kardashian and their daughter North. He then took the stage with Osteen, who Kanye calls a longtime friend. With his new album titled Jesus is King behind him, West said from now on, his music will be in service of God.
You can see how low I had sunk and how in service to the devil my talents have become.
It's Osteen I'm worried about.
Why that? Why do you worry about Osteen?
Well, Osteen is a propagator of what's called prosperity gospel, and this is, in my mind, the inverse of liberation theology. Liberation theology said the sign of God's blessing is that you're poor. Osteen says the sign of God's blessing is that you're rich. And I say a plague on both their houses, that it's not your bank account, it's your sincere, authentic response to the call of God.
As West spoke about his renewed journey towards Christianity.
All of that arrogance and confidence and cockiness that y'all seen me use before, God is now using for him.
Because I find that there's an arrogance when we think that we know what's in our best interest. There's an arrogance there, and God says that the arrogance is the thing that he considers evil. Because as I've looked at Scripture, you know what struck me one day? Of all the things that God hates, the thing he seems to hate the most is arrogance and pride. In fact, he says, if I'm prideful, he'll resist me. So you feel like you're pushing against a brick wall and you can't get it to move. Step back and say, Lord, am I walking in an attitude of pride? Now, the problem with pride is it's so slippery and subtle and deceptive. But I've learned this about myself. If I'm bitter against somebody, that's pride. If I'm injured and hurt and offended, that's pride. If I'm critical and fault-finding, that's pride. Why is it pride? Because who am I to criticize or judge somebody else? As if somehow I'm not equal or even in some ways maybe more flawed than they are. You see, this desire in us to control our circumstances, to rule over the ends of our own fate, and maybe even sometimes to control the fate of others, I think it's arrogant and it's evil.
We're here in Los Angeles and right outside of the Forum, where usually there's all sorts of concerts going on, but today there's a banner that says Jesus is King, and we've been interviewing people as they go in, about to see Kanye West, but in a spiritual environment. We're not sure what's going to happen, but we're going to find out.
Before in my life, I never really kept like God or religion really in mind, but I'm going to be more open-minded, and I think that's really a key thing about it. Just be more open-minded and keep it in the back of my head while I go through my everyday life.
Jesus, give us wealth. Jesus is our safe. Jesus is our rock. Jesus, give us grace. Jesus, keep us safe.
So this is legitimate?
I believe so, yeah. I believe so.
If not, we praying that it is.
Yeah. God can use anything for his good, you know, so if this is the atmosphere where, you know, some people need to be reached, then God will use it.
So I want to encourage it if it's authentic and it has some depth. It doesn't encourage me that Joel Osteen is involved in this, because this is a whole different thing. But as I listened to Kanye West's interview on Apple, introducing the album, I'm impressed with this man's intellect, the seriousness of his approach. I hope he gets the right people around him, because this goes right to the heart of what is wrong in our culture: the materialism, the over-sexualization of the culture, the disrespect for the dignity of human life. And this man seems fearless. I mean, it's not unprecedented that a person has a deep conversion and gets knocked off their horse, right, in Christianity.
Absolutely.
I'm thinking St. Paul the Apostle. But as you go down through history, Dorothy Day or John, I'm sorry, his name just went out of my head, the one who wrote Amazing Grace that saved a wretch like me. The man had been a slave owner and became a great abolitionist.
Kanye West is known for his rap skills, but now he's dabbling in opera.
Well, he's producing an opera at least. Let's see if he makes a cameo. I don't know if he can hit all those notes. Kanye announced his first ever opera, Nebuchadnezzar, on Twitter this weekend. He posted a photo of the Golden Program featuring the name of the longest reigning Babylonian king. The opera is directed by Italian performance artist Vanessa Beecroft and will take place at the Hollywood Bowl on November 24th. The event will also feature music by Kanye's Sunday service performers, and tickets go on sale today. So if you want to see.
The same thing that people are using to say, well, we don't know if he's sincere, is what God is using to be able to save more. That you can see how low I had sunk.
Kanye's faith is why Pastor Joel Osteen invited him to Houston to speak and perform at the biggest church in the country.
But this Christian evangelism, you think is sincere, bottom line, in his case?
Yeah, I think it's sincere, but who questions anyone's motivation? I'm more concerned about the actions that someone takes, not what their motivation is. I mean, there are a lot of people who profess to be Christians, and they're horrible.
No, it's a very smart point.
You know, and
what you care about, I think, is the New Testament says the fruits.
Exactly. Also, I believe if you look in the Bible, Saul was one time an assassin of his own people.
Yes. And
then he had a Damascus experience, and he became Paul. But suppose every time he was speaking, they said, "Oh, I know you used to be Saul."
Yeah.
So we have to accept Kanye as he is. And the very fact that the young people in the inner city who know a phony when they see it are flocking to him because there's such a thirst for a redemptive spirit and a redemptive witness.
An unexpected ministry from a popular face. Days before his anticipated Lakewood Sunday service, music icon Kanye West made a surprise stop Friday at the Harris County Jail with his large choir performing gospel music for male and female inmates. An uplifting performance that brought inmates to their knees and tears. Kanye West sang with inmates, shook their hands, and prayed with them. Harris County Sheriff Ed Gonzalez says despite the short notice from Kanye's team, this is a powerful performance they wanted to bring behind bars.
You know, any jail can be a very dark place sometimes, literally and figuratively. You know, we have 9,000 inmates. You know, it really was like the worship service, very uplifting.
Actor Kevin Hart breaking his silence, recovering from the car crash that left him badly injured. Here's Kayna Whitworth.
Nearly 2 months after that devastating car crash, actor and comedian Kevin Hart taking us inside his grueling recovery.
For the first time since a horrific car crash.
When God don't take today for granted, because tomorrow's not promised. More importantly, I'm thankful for God. I'm thankful for life. I'm thankful for simply still being here. When God talks, you gotta listen. I swear life is funny.
Sir Walter Scott, in a poem that he wrote, this, thought you might want to get into 16th century literature. But he has a classic phrase that in this poem he wrote called Marmion. It's survived long past its literary interest by the rest of humanity because it is such a profound statement when he says, "Oh, what a tangled web we weave when first we practice to deceive." His point was that every lie becomes another strand in the web, and eventually the web will entrap us, not those who are trying to entrap.